10 seconds.
Welcome to another ball-busting episode of Traumahead Sportz.
Right. Welcome back. Show number 2. We got a banger.
Yeah, it's going to be Chris Lasoya. I feel like he's the first poster boy of paintball coming in tonight with some good stories and some good times here. Probably going to be talking about some interesting scenarios and some interesting games and some things that he's been involved in. You know, from sponsorship to playing on some of the greatest teams in America, and basically being the first poster boy of paintball. Let's bring in Chris Lasoya. What's going on, brother?
What's up, guys? How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, how you been doing yourself?
Man, I'm always fantastic. You know, it's good to see you guys back in the mix. You know, I ran into you guys here and there, and you know, you guys were the turning point for videos and promotion and stuff back then. I mean, you guys helped me make who I am, you know, because without you guys there really was no video content, and you know, the magazines, and you know, it was a kind of a free-for-all, and you guys kind of took it by the horns, so to speak. So it's really good to see you guys back in the mix.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. I feel like back then we were trying to make everybody famous, and the better you were, the more times you're going to get on those shots, and so it just makes for great footage, you know. And back then, I feel like you gave us a lot of great footage. Well, let's talk about your beginning of your career and kind of about how you got in paintball.
Well, my dad had taken me out. It was like in 86, 87. For like a team building thing that they had done for his company, because he works in Cape Canaveral. And we went out and played and shot my mom, shot my dad, just kind of fell in love with it. My friends got together. We kind of played out in the woods a little bit here and there. And man, one thing led to another. I started playing with this team called Doom Troopers, which is a South Florida team. They're still around, actually. They're a scenario group of guys. I still talk to the guy that pretty much taught me how to play paintball, Russell Breeden. Good friend of mine, you know. So, you know,
Yeah,
that's where it all
I know
started.
those autocockers. Yeah,
Yeah,
you used
yeah.
to make custom autocockers.
Yeah,
I got you.
RKB Engineering. That guy was. We used to hone barrels out in his second bedroom. Like, we used to spin the old school tracer balls from RP shirt in a big 5-gallon bucket that he had built. It was hilarious, to say the least.
Nice, man. I love that engineering. Like I said, I know his guns. So, yeah. So what happened from there? For some reason, I've always thought you were from California this whole entire
You
time.
know, I actually, when I left Florida, when I graduated high school, I went to Colorado. I was in the military, and I spent most of my military years. Actually, I took about a year off because I had to go to basic and all the schools and stuff like that. I ended up in Colorado and ended up with this team called Easy Company that eventually went to a tournament in Texas. We were an amateur team, and which eventually turned into Avalanche. I mean, the period of time, I mean, obviously everything's a little cloudy for me back then, but
Right?
you know, and it was quite some time ago, you know, early 94, I want to say. You know, we went to Dallas, played in that tournament down there. And, you know, things just transpired. One thing led to another, and we started picking up players. And then I was driving home to see my grandmother. I met Ed Portman because I just looking to play paintball one day. It was like on a Wednesday in the middle of nowhere in Kearney, Nebraska. And I popped into Warp Sports, or it was called Splat City Paintball or something, some stupid name. I can't remember what it was. But we went out and we went down the street, just jumped off the highway and played paintball in the woods off the highway. And Ed wasn't too
Nice.
bad. You know, we had fun. I mean, I shot the piss out of those guys. But I ended up going home, seeing my grandmother, and then I was like, hey, let's just get a team together and go down to Texas. And so we went down to the MPPL in Texas, And man, it just snowballed from there, and one thing led to another. And here I am today talking to you, gentlemen.
Did it rain?
Did it what?
Right.
Did it rain in Texas? Because it always rains in Texas.
I can't remember. I remember. I remember we were shooting. The guys were shooting Icon Z1s. I remember that. If you guys remember that gun,
Right.
when you shot that thing and it was like cold or rainy or anything, you couldn't even see where you're shooting. It just left a big cloud of smoke. I shot a pump, the Sniper 2 from Bud Orr for the longest time. I think me and Marty Bush were the last two people to use a pump gun, even when all these people were transitioning over to electronic or mechanical guns, I guess, so to speak. And it just, the Icon's just big poof of smoke, and couldn't hit a damn thing with the gun. I couldn't use it. So, but Texas was a stepping stone for everything pretty much in my life, if you want to think of it that way.
Right on. Well, what I think about is opening up the magazines and seeing you at a table with Rocky and Ed getting served paintballs by some chickie.
Yep.
And that made me open up the next paintball magazine, the next magazine. You understand? Like, I felt like then you were a paintball person that had made it. Like, you were at the top, you were in the magazines, you were destroying people. You played on a team that I felt like were a lot of brothers. I don't know, like Avalanche, I felt was like a really tight team, and no matter whether it was just the original guys or, you guys grabbing a couple players, joining them, I just always felt like they were super powerful. And that's what fed me my desire, my energy to play paintball. So, I felt like seeing you, the magazines, everything that you were doing, and then Jeff being able to put you guys on video and us being able to kind of say your names more, put the video out. You guys would come to the booth the next event and be able to see yourselves from the previous event playing. Nobody else was doing that. And I felt like you were one of the people that took us to that level, that it was super entertaining. So, let's talk a little bit about Avalanche and some of those teams, brother.
Man, and you're right. Avalanche was a very, very tight. We were very, very tight. Me, LB, Travis, Sean Ellis, Mark Knopp, Rocky, John Richardson, Jeremy Salm, Eric Roberts. I mean, the team was just an absolute madhouse. The personalities that were built around that, the fact that we all got along for as long as we did was absolutely mind-blowing, because we were all assholes. And
a lot of different personalities in that group right there.
Yeah, exactly. And, but we bonded really well. Everybody has their differences, and teams go through these growing pains and whatnot. But the thing that we skipped on that team is we skipped the trying to get to know each other and just getting in fist fights, like friends do. It just happens. I mean, some of my great friends are people I'd known by getting in a fist fight with them, and that's just the way life is.
Right.
But with that said, we skipped that whole part with the Avalanche crew, and we just, Steve Rabikoff was out there. We just put everything together and just started smashing people. And the way that Avalanche had become pro, we had gone to Pittsburgh, and we had just changed our name from Easy Company to Avalanche because Easy Company was a stupid name. I mean, it was a cool name for an amateur team, like the Flying Ducks or the Butthole Surfers or whatever people call themselves these days. You still see those dumb names out there that aren't very newsworthy. So we changed our name, and back then, if you were an amateur team that got more points in the prelims than the fourth place pro team, you could decide to go pro and knock that fourth pro team out. Unfortunately for Glenn Forrester and the GBD guys, they were that team, and I remember Glenn came to us and says, "Hey, I'll give you like 100 cases of Tasso paint, that black and white ball that absolutely you couldn't hit a damn thing with. So he had come to us and said he'll give us 100 cases of paint. And that was a big deal back then. But we said, no, we're going to go pro. So we ended up going pro. We beat Aftershock that tournament.
God damn it! Right. Billy, move! On your gun! On your gun! The middle is back! Guy in the middle is back, it's gone! Oh, no.
Nothing but carnage.
What?
They're right in front of each other.
Come on, Cal! You're gone! Oh, God. One more, right there in the middle! Right in the stump! You're done, cowboy! Oh. We're in the corner! We're in the corner! Who's your daddy, baby? Jacko, go! 90! Hey, it's gone, it's gone! It's in the house!
That was a revelation that kind of opened our eyes. Say, hey, we can beat these guys. We can beat anybody because those guys were top of the game. If they couldn't beat you on the field, they beat your ass in the parking lot.
That's a guarantee.
After they beat each other up first.
Yeah, I've always said if you go to the Chicago Badlands, there's a great chance you'll find a human tooth.
Oh, you'll find a lot. You'll find a lot
of brawls there.
Oh man, I've been in a few of those. I mean, but you don't want to fight with those loggers and
lumberjacks.
All those guys. Yeah, all those lumberjack guys. Man, I remember when I got smacked in the face in Dallas. I was young, man. I had to be like 18, 19, maybe 20. I don't know. I was right there though. I was very young. And Spud, we were playing them. We were amateur at the time in Dallas, and we were playing Aftershock, and they were kind of beating us a little bit. But I went and I kind of got in a spot where they couldn't see me, and they're very aggressive. They just got up and ran down the field. Well, they didn't see me, and I stand up and I just smoked Gary and Danny and Billy, and then I saw Spud running for the flag, so I chased Spud down and shot him in the back like 6 times, and he turned around and just gave me a nice little heater and broke my vents in half. And man, it was a big ordeal. I think that me and him were the first 2 people to ever be put on disciplinary suspension, or what do you call it? We were the first 2 to go on the books as getting in a fight on the field. It was relatively funny. I would never fight that guy. That's just a dumb decision to begin with.
Yeah, Spud's a beast.
Oh man, yeah, he's a hell of a guy too. But yeah, that's a funny story, But we ended up beating those guys. Oh, we lost that game, but we should have won. But progressively throughout the years, I see some of these amateur teams getting, unhappy with the playing situations, or they're not winning every tournament or whatever it might be. You just got to stick with it. And I mean, our team had a lot of drive to it, so we stuck with it and ended up at the top of the game for many, many, many years.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about something like you guys, beat in Dynasty in Tampa.
So how that all came about, the PSP at the time had picked their pro players or pro teams, and we had become Miami Effect. You had Miami Effect, Aftershock, all the best pro teams were actually in the PSP at that time. And they locked those teams down to where they couldn't play any other league. Dynasty at the time was just coming up. They had beat us before as we were Avalanche. So they were already kind of established, but not quite the Dynasty that we know today. But they were beating everybody. And then all the pro teams ended up in the PSP, and they ended up staying with the MPPL. And they were beating up all the teams in the MPPL pretty irregularly. And, Travis, myself, and LB, and I think John or somebody else, there's a group of us that went to the PSP and said, hey, look, we could beat these guys. I know we can. Give us a chance. Let us go play this tournament and let them know that our tournament series over here is the best series to play in. And we come out of nowhere and just beat up these guys. And they were like, no, we're keeping you to it. And I'm like, you're not even paying us to stay here. You're not paying our bills. You're not paying anything. So you have zero rights to tell us what we can and can't do. And Travis and myself and Brian, we Brandon Emerson, we Rusty Glaze. I mean, those are a lot of names that people know. We all said, kick rocks. We just gave him the finger and walked out.
Infamous, of course, the Miami Effect team breaking away from X-Ball, maybe open up the door for other X-Ball teams and see if it was a good decision.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Lasoya with Team Infamous, formerly known of Miami Effect. Just in case y'all was wondering what happened, we all decided to jump ship. No hard feelings by anybody. We decided that we just wanted to go play other places and be able to support our sponsors to the best of our ability. We just want to say publicly that we apologize for making anybody upset, but hey, we got to do what you got to do. We're back with our friends. We're having a good time. MPPL's on top of things. I'm pretty impressed by the layout so far. I can't say nothing bad about the whole tournament. Everything's great. You guys stay tuned for more action.
We ended up changing the team name to Infamous at that time, and we went out and just absolutely destroyed everybody at the MPPL. The first one they said was a fluke. We beat Dynasty because they were a good team, man, without question. You can't take anything away from that. They still are. But we went out there and just kind of put it on them pretty well. And then we came back out in Denver the next tournament and just kicked the crap out of Excessive in the finals. They didn't want us there, so we had the adversity to overcome, the refs, the systems, insert anything here for that matter. We had to overcome all that stuff just to win that tournament, and we ended up winning convincingly. And then, of course, they opened up everything to everybody, and we were stuck outside with our thumb in our ass.
So I feel like when you were stacked, like you're talking about, you were beating teams like Excessive who were really stacked at that time as well. And like you just said, Dynasty's never been weak. They've always been a great team. So you guys changing from Avalanche, stepping into the Excessive realm and beating Dynasty was, I feel like, a step that you were let everybody know you were here.
Yeah. No, I think it set the standard and kind of, we put our foot down, which is a kind of a ballsy move. But then, you had Gino Posterivo from National Paintball. He came out of the woodwork and he's like, screw it, I'll sponsor you guys. And he gave us all the money and all the sponsorship we needed to be self-sustainable, get those players, maintain the same roster that we had, still travel to all these tournaments and make a statement and treat our sponsors right. We were the first ones to ever wear Empire. That whole Empire thing came, from our team, and it got really popular really quick. Still the Empire you see today.
Right.
But without the support of the sponsors like Richmond Italia, Gino, the JT, those guys they all really helped us a lot because this sport costs money. It's expensive.
Right.
And it's a reoccurring cost. It's not like buying a mountain bike and mountain biking, 100 times a year because you buy the mountain bike and you're done. All you got to do is buy water and Band-Aids, So, they gave us the support that we needed financially, also with paint because that's a huge expense, gear and everything. My Intimidator came out, with that team. But before that we had the Angel, the WDP guys, had come out of the woodwork with that gun, the first electronic gun ever. And they put a statement on the way that paintball markers were supposed to shoot after the fact, that they came out with the Angels. So that was a great time in my life as well.
Right. And we're talking about when the balls were unlimited and people were just absolutely ripping ropes, Huntington Beach style. I feel like those were the days when everybody had cheater boards. Everybody had guns that just absolutely ripped. And I feel like that's when the Intimidator really made a name for itself.
Oh, yeah. My gun was a chainsaw. Like, literally. The thing shot insane. But I'd come home, because I played in spots where I was getting shot 100 times, maybe 150. Half of those from Rich Telford, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd go to the pool at these hotels, and their parents would take their kids out of the pool thinking I have ringworm. It was rather comical. I kind of played into it a few times just because explaining paintball is so much more difficult than saying you have ringworm. It's much easier.
Right. Right.
So, we've all been there, all of us. So
Yeah, I could always tell you frontliners at a tournament when you were walking around without your shirt on and had hundreds of old ass paintball hits on you and welts
Oh
and
yes,
scars and rings and yeah, it was
yep.
absolutely crazy.
Let's circle back to the beginning of the WDP thing with Angel. And this is a lot of people don't know. Is the Angel was the first electronic gun, obviously, that came out through WDP, and they sent me the first gun ever to the States. And I remember I took the grip frame off and I pulled all the wires right out of the grip frame because I just take guns apart. I didn't realize there was wires in that damn thing. So Jacko and those guys were pretty pissed off at me about that. So they sent me another gun, and that's how I got my Elements Angel that I pushed through Dark, as the Dark Angel at the time that we did through Warp Sports and Ed and the team. And that was the first individual gun private label marker that had ever been done up until that point for an individual player. So I was pretty proud of that one. Kind of opened the door a little bit for other companies to kind of, venture into that realm and help out some of these other players because it helped me financially, throughout my career. It still helps me out financially throughout my career. So I'm very blessed to have sponsors like those guys that had supported me and my vision on this game as well.
Right on, right on. Yeah. Let's talk about some of those key moments, like how you came involved with the JT and things like that.
Well, John Gregory, he'd always taken him and Butto for some reason always took a liking to me. They were super nice guys. That's why Butto was one of my major sponsors back in the very beginning with the pump and the autococker, etc. And then John, when he owned JT, I used to go to JT and help him do this and clean the warehouse, and I would just help out. And Chuck Hench took over as president. And forgive me about the years because I can't remember back that far, but I think I was the first individual player to get cash sponsorship through JT. Nice. Rocky and myself got those, and it was only $5K, but $5K back then for a paintball player just to go play paintball, that was a big deal to me, and I know Rocky. I mean, how many you know how many pairs of shoes you can buy with that? I mean, Rocky bought,
beers.
Every beers. Yeah, I went shoes, but yeah, we can say beers, I guess.
Right on.
Yeah, I mean, so that actually opened the door for a lot of the sponsorship you see now, and then the Gino deal that I had, signed that deal, $100,000 plus a year for X amount of years, and that's what I was making. And now it's like second nature. You look at some of these players like Alex Goldman, the other big name players that are out there that are getting paid to play paintball, like the Houston Heat did. And Bart from Impact, they're taking financial responsibility for these players, and now they're a true pro paintball player because that is their job.
So after all the teams that we know you've played for, I feel like you said it's the All A's, Washington Rain, Shock, Bonsai, also played with Trauma, played with a few other teams. I'm sure you've guessed with tons of teams. Out of all those teams, is there any this couple players that you just really think were back then that if they were playing right now would be total superstars of the game?
John Richardson, 100%.
John Richardson. Most underrated killer that I feel like no one talks about. He's just like a ghost in the machine. He comes in, he destroys people, he leaves. I've always thought he had a very high paintball IQ, and I've even said it on other Traumahead videos. I undoubtedly think he's one of the most underrated paintball players. And their style back then was a lot different, but I feel like a lot of guys back then could really be standout players right now. And I compare them to a few of the taller, more even just not super small athletic number ones, but they need some Matt Askrens in the game. They need some of those midfielders, some of those taller, bigger players, I feel like they can play the middle, or somebody with a higher paintball IQ can go up the middle. And I feel like John was definitely one of them.
100%. I mean, John, Travis, LB, John, myself, Rusty, Brandon, Andy Kopcock. We all played together. We played a 7-man. We played really, really well together. It's like everything was second nature. We all knew what each other was going to do. And it takes a long time for a team to gel like that. I mean, I'm running into those problems right now with Miami Effect because I'm not a very patient person. So I'm expecting everybody to gel right away, and this is not working. So I just got to give it time, because I know that it will is eventually. But another player that comes to mind is Tui, Steve Barber, from the All-Americans. That guy was absolutely insane. He was an amazing paintball player. Unfortunately, we lost him too early in life. But it happens. It's so is life, so to speak.
Right. I feel like Tui may have been one of the first really hardcore frontliners. To me, maybe like the Billies, the Shane Howes, the, Colt Roberts, the guys that have been running to the front for the last 15 years. And they still do it. 20 years, still do it. They don't ever play anything else. You never expect them to look back and ask you if they can stop short. Those kind of guys. I feel like Tui was that kind of guy.
He was a machine for sure. And Shane Howe, I don't know what is in the water where he lives, but that kid never ages. I mean, it's annoying a little bit, but I mean, great guy. He plays amazing, but he's still playing, so I can't really put him in that category. But there was another guy.
Same way with Andy.
Yeah,
Andy's still playing.
He's timeless. He's timeless. And he's one of the. I've made so many great friends in this whole venture that I've been on for years now. I mean, you guys, and I mean, I have friends in every place in the world, pretty much, that you can call and be like, "Hey, I'm in town. Okay, let's go hang out." And that's just the validates that this sport is not just a sport. We actually care about each other. And it's a blessing to even be a part of this kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Family, because that's what we all are. We really are one big family. We hate each other. We like each other. We fight each other. We don't fight each other. It is what it is, So
yeah, I love it, dude. I think that's what brings us all together. And for me, the mech. I think maybe when paintball started changing to X-ball, I felt like if you weren't built like Ryan Moorhead, or you weren't like Chad George, you weren't going to survive in that. Like, I wasn't built that way. And so I felt like it kind of transitioned away. A lot of other people, I felt like, kind of laid around and kind of put paintball as their story. They would tell people they used to play. No one had any idea about it. And then there, not long ago, we had it was the mechanical revolution. And I feel like at that time, the mechanical revolution drug a bunch of OGs back into the game because they felt like the competition was leveled. They didn't have to go out there and have some guy with accuracy by volume just absolutely shoot the piss out of your bunker. It came back to a skill game, game plans and all that. Not to mention it's in the woods. It's on the mounds. It's on a hybrid field. I don't even mind the hyperball fields. I think that's what, to me, when the airballs fields were connected with tubes and we stepped out of the woods, I felt like that was a huge jump. When we went to the Badlands and we saw that big ass black field there, it was on another level of, wow, we've done something. We're different. Everybody wanted to play that bastard. It was like the talk of the time. I loved going there. I loved practicing there. And somehow I feel like that mechanical paintball has snapped back and brought a lot of people back. Recently we went to AC. I saw you there. We see all the NXL guys, that format. then 3 fields away, there's a gigantic format of nothing but mechanical. And I didn't realize that because it was the first one I've been to that really had a giant separation and still had quality refs, had speed, timely games. It wasn't just something set on the back burner, and I kind of dug it. So I think, the ICPL, the mechanical format that they have, and being able to offer that at the NXL for guys that want to kind of play a little bit more, I think it's awesome. I see you there regularly at every one of the mech events, and I see you there with some of the guys that you talked about that you killed it with in the past. Travis, LB, Andy, I see you've played with a lot of those guys, and those guys still come out and destroy people, and I love it, man. So
yeah, it's a blast. It's a blast. I love it. And a little history, the Hyperball Field in Chicago with the big Hyperball tube around the tree.
Mm-hmm.
I actually built that field for Rennick.
Really?
I was the only one in the States that had ever built a Hyperball Field, because Jacko and I built the one at the World Cup that was on the backside of Old Town. Mm-hmm. So Jacko and I built that. So that's where I learned how to build it, because Jacko was with WDP at the time, and they threw their Hyperball tournament overseas. And so Rennick had called me. He goes, "Hey, I want to put a Hyperball field up." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So he flew me out there, bought all the stuff. He wouldn't let me cut that tree down, because I was going to cut that big tree down. I'm glad I didn't, because it's kind of nostalgic.
Right.
He wouldn't let me cut the tree down, so I had to cut that big Hyperball tube in half and then center the field on that one big tree, which is a huge pain in my ass, mind you.
Right.
But that diamond and the subs in the middle, and that is a very nostalgic feeling field for people that played back then, and the zipper, whoever came up with that idea is amazing. I hate that field personally, but like the zipper field in Chicago, those fields are fun, man. And I think everybody should get a chance to go experience the old school style of play to kind of see where they came from. Some of these kids can't hang, though. I kind of laugh about it.
Legends were made and hearts were broken on that Hyperball Field. Feelings were hurt. Yeah, and that's going back to your Intimidator days, and these guys crying about getting overshot. They do not know Ryan Williams. They have no idea what he went through. They just don't know those guys that would stand up to being annihilated with 30, 40 shots and then walking off the field. And especially if someone had felt some type of way about you, they're definitely going to give you some extra love. And these guys nowadays, I feel like some of them are soft. There's some badasses still out there, but there's a lot of damn softies out there too.
Very small percentage. These kids are soft, bro. I look at them. Mm-hmm. I do some of these. I do the webcasts with Maddie, or you can catch me at the UXBLs out in Texas. I literally want to walk on the field and just punch these kids. Just keep just one little heater, just one time, and just tell them to shut up, because I was getting blasted. I would just turn around, give them the nod, say, "Okay, no problem. What comes around goes around," because I invented that shit. So I'm telling you, you're messing with the wrong person with that. You put the dime in the quarter slot, because you're going to get the full game on this one for sure.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, when you buy the ticket, you're getting a ride, aren't they, Chris?
Oh, I give them 2 rides. One at the hospital.
Nice. Yeah, so look, I think maybe we could talk about some of those peptides you've been working on. I see your shirt. Let's give it a little plug into these guys. Let's see what you got going on.
Yeah, it's one of the sponsors of Miami Effect. I got hooked up with these guys. I'm getting older, obviously. Bad knees, bad shoulders, bad hips. I just got my hip replaced, and I've been seeing peptides pop up here lately. And I'm a snake oil kind of guy. It's like, yeah, whatever. I look at that stuff, I see it on TV, and I kind of blow it off, whatever. But then I kind of started educating myself a little bit. Phil Veach, who's actually one of the players on Miami Effect, has a sports medicine place in Arizona, and he owns mypropeptides.com. That's where most of all the paintball players go to get them. We have Patty Gleason on there as an ambassador. There's some other people on there, Archie from Arsenal. there's some other people coming on I can't talk about right now that are ambassadors of the sport. But what got me was I took these peptides for, probably a month before I started really kind of feeling some difference, or I guess not feeling difference, because the pain in my knees went away, my shoulders, I could actually function, I could walk upright. A lot of the ailments had gone away in my joints and everything. And I didn't really realize it until my hip surgery, because I had to stop taking peptides right before my surgery. And then all these pains came back, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't realize that was gone until it came back. And I was like, this stuff's for real. So I'm a huge advocate for people trying this BPC 157. Even there's a pill form of it. You could take it injectable. Some of this injectable, I like injectables because they seem to take, effect a lot quicker. And the needles are super tiny, because I'm a total sissy when it comes to needles. But the needles are super small. It's like an insulin needle. But 5 days on, 2 days off, let your body recover. And Ryan Moorhead takes them, and he's a huge advocate for them as well. It just really, really helps overall recovery, gut health, your joints, especially when you get to be my age. It's something I would definitely recommend people. If you don't want to get it, at least go do some research for yourself at mypropeptides.com, and it'll give you a good idea of what we're talking about. Because I'm not totally educated on it yet, so it's hard for me to really chime in too much on that.
I got you. Well, I really appreciate you throwing out the shout out to him. And how about anything else, man? Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
No, like I said, I'm really glad to have you guys back. I'm always here for you guys, as you know. I think that you guys are going to resurrect a portion of the sport that has been missing a little bit, because you guys had the no fucks given way, and that's the way that it should be. And I love that. Because I'm the same way. You know that. But we couldn't do it. The team that I brought back Miami Effect, as you know, and I couldn't do it without the sponsors that we have. So I just want to make sure I talk about those guys real quick. Pro DNA with Travis really helped us out a lot. Gino with Vulcan, Pete over at Virtue, and Chris and those guys, Kevin, that they're all helping us out. Hormesis is helping us out a lot. MyProPeptides is a huge contributor to our sport, to our team as well. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting it. Push Paintball, and the HK guys are distributing that goggle now. So, it's just, we have all the best sponsors in the sport, with Planet Eclipse being our gun sponsor. These guys really, really came out of the woodwork when I said, hey man, I'm starting this team back up. What do you guys think? And they're like, what do you need? And I made that team happen in 4 weeks. I didn't even know the guys' names.
Nice.
The support, it didn't turn out so well, but it was a nice thought. But with that said, we have the greatest sponsors in the sport, we could not have done or excelled and got to where we are this fast without their help. So I want to hit hats off to those guys for sure.
Right. And sometimes it's baby steps. And I know that Paintball Planet Eclipse, I feel like they make the best gun out there. They power smoke. I know that probably the best teams playing paintball right now shoot Eclipse
mech everything. Their mech guns are insane.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I judged them, was by their mech guns, and the EMAC going out there and being able to rip strings of paint all the way to that CS Pro or CS3 Pro. And I just think all their guns are really good. Not only are they good, but their support is good, and they support us really well. And I like to give a little shout out to them whenever I can, and I like to hear somebody else talking good about them.
Yeah, they're great people. Jack and I have been friends for a long time, and they're definitely top of the game. So hats off to them. Virtue, Travis at Pro DNA, everything he's done over there with Powerhouse. It's we could talk for hours and hours. Thank God you live close, so I can go down to Sarasota and hang out with you guys more often.
Right, and that was another thing I was going to say. We're definitely going to have you back on, and maybe have a couple other people in there. We'll get a little three-piece, or maybe an Avalanche mini reunion, and we'll throw some games down and kind of commentate on them. You guys can give me your views on how it went down.
Oh, we can get dirty with it. I'm telling you, I'm all about it. So,
I knew you would be, brother. I knew you would be.
Well, I do. I really appreciate everything. And like I said, man, I'm really glad to see you guys back. You guys were the pinnacle, and you really helped me get to where I was today, for sure.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yep.
Amen.
See you, brother.
Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Well,